Hello friends and welcome to this video on Authentic English, and in this video we're going to discuss the poem We Are the Music Makers by Arthur O Shaughnessy. So this poem was originally called Ode, and it's commonly referred to by its first line, We Are the Music Makers, and this poem was first published in 1873. So this is quite an old poem and still holds a lot of relevance today because it talks about something that is relevant even today. Before I begin explaining further, I would like you to subscribe to my channel if you've not already done so, because I will post videos on literature regularly that may help a lot in your studies. So let's begin with our summary and analysis of We Are the Music Makers. So first of all, let's understand what We Are the Music Makers refers to. We Are the Music Makers refers to the artists. Okay, so you know what artists are. Some people who create art, the writers, the musicians, and even engineers who create something new, who have the capability and power to create something which does not exist. Okay, to create something new. So he's referring to all those artists. The poem has been made into music and is important in many aspects. So this poem was turned into a song. So this has been made into music and is important in many aspects. Movers and shakers is a phrase that originated from this poem. So at times we might have heard this phrase, movers and shakers. So this is a phrase that originated from this poem. This poem has been alluded to several times in culture, and in popular culture this poem has got a lot of references to it. Self means many other authors have talked about this poem in their work. The poem is dedicated to artists. So this poem holds relevance because it talks about those people who have the creativity, who have the imagination, and out of their imagination and through their hard work they are able to create new things. The poem is dedicated to artists, people like poets, musicians, painters, etc., who create a new world through their imagination and set themselves apart from the rest. So the reason why these people become different from the other people and in fact greater than them, because they have the capability of creation, and creation is a godly aspect. So artists are great people, and also artist refers to not just these people but also people who build the cities, even engineers, because they help in creation of a lot of things. So all those people who are in fact creating new things are referred to as artists in this poems, the creators. So now we'll begin with the stanza wise explanation of this poem. So let me read out the first paragraph for you. We are the music makers and we are the dreamers of dreams, wandering by lone sea breakers and sitting by desolate streams, world losers and world forsakers, on whom the pale moon gleams, yet we are the movers and shakers of the world forever, it seems. So this is the first stanza of the poem, and it addresses we are the music makers. So the poet is addressing all the people, all the artists, okay? Artists of all the fields. And we are the dreamers of dreams. So the artists have a dream that they turn into a reality. So that is why they are the dreamers of dreams. Because first, before even creating a thing physically, you have to dream it in your imagination. You have to create it in your imagination. That is what is talked about in this powerful line. We are the dreamers of dreams. And then through our hard work, through our skills, and through our knowledge, we put those dreams into reality. Wandering by lone sea breakers and sitting by desolate streams. So it now talks about that the artists have a hard life. You see that musicians, poets, these are things that still are not considered very important in our society. If you tell your parents that I want to be a musician, or maybe I want to be a singer or a poet, something like that, people will say that these things are not substantial in today's world. And it's always been true. There have been a lot of poets, a lot of other artists who have faced a lot of opposition from everyone. One of the examples was Keats. Okay, so he was very poor, but now, in fact, after his death, his entire family is very rich, all this subsequent generations. So wandering by lone sea breakers and sitting by desolate streams means that these artists, first of all, look at the word lone. It describes how they are kind of alone. Okay, so they sit by the sea alone, And also they sit by streams. Okay, they wander by the sea, they roam next to the sea alone and sitting by desolate streams, and then they are sitting next to a stream. So it implies that at a certain level the artists are kind of depressed, they kind of face a lot of problems, they are alone at times, but it is through their aloofness, through their loneliness, whatever you want to term it as, that they are able to create art. You might have heard that phrase that when actually you are sad, that is when you are able to create some of the best of arts. So it points out that the life of the artist is not easy. They have faced a lot of problems. Maybe it's financial problems, or maybe it's some psychological issue. So the artists have to face a lot of problems. The artists wander alone by the waves and sit in isolation by the streams. Thus, the artists have a tough life full of hardships, which brings out the art from them. So, these hardships bring out the art from the artists. Okay? They have to kind of forsake the world and the society to create things that are extraordinary. So, you might have seen that a lot of artists in all the time have talked about things which were kind of different. They have given a viewpoint which was different from what was normal. So at times the artists have to forsake the entire world, and that is how they are able to create their art. World losers and world forsakers. That means they have to give up on the world at times. They do not have to think about what the world will think. They have to create their own art, and world forsakers. They have to kind of forsake the world for the sake of their art. Okay, so there are people who have given up on the world just to be able to create their art. There are artists who have created paintings that might have sparked a lot of controversy, and there are people who have written things that might have sparked a lot of controversy. So at times they do not find themselves connected with the world, they are disconnected, and that is how they go about it. On whom the pale moon gleams. Now this pale moon means that the moon does not shine brightly on them. In fact, the moon is described as on whom, in fact, I mean, on whom the pale moon gleams can mean that they are not very well to do at times. The pale moon can signify the hard lives of the artists, in that they earn less. Okay, so they are not enjoying a very shiny kind of a life in which the sun is shining. Just the moon is there, not the sun. The moonlight is less. So it can be implied that they earn less. So the artists have a lot of problems to face, but in spite of that, they are very important in that they are the people who create a lot of things. Yet we are the movers and shakers of the world forever, it seems. But yet, these artists are the ones because of whom this world is moving ahead, because of whom the world is seeing innovation and newness. However, it's the artists who make a difference. They are the movers and shakers. They can bring a change in the world through their works, and they can make the monotonous world a creative place to be. So I hope you're thorough with the first stanza. Now let's move on to stanza number 2. With wonderful deathless ditties, we build up the world's great cities, and out of a fabulous story, we fashion an empire's glory. One man with a dream at pleasure shall go forth and conquer a crown, and three with a new song's measure can trample an empire down. Now, it talks about how the artists have a power to destroy and create. Okay, the artists does not have the power to create new things, but because of their power, because of their creativity, they have the power to destroy what is bad. With wonderful deathless ditties. Ditties means songs. So we build up the world's great cities. Okay, so through our songs, through the songs that the musicians write, or the poems that the poets write, we can build up great cities. The contribution of the artists to the world through their works is highlighted. Through their evergreen songs, they can create wonderful cities, and through their stories, they can talk about glorious empires. So, in our stories, we can talk about glorious empires, and through our songs, we can talk about wonderful cities that have existed or are there in the present world. So, these songs and these poems can give them immortality. And out of a fabulous story, we fashion an empire's glory. So, through the stories, we can talk about how glorious an empire was. See, we have not seen how the Mughal Empire was. It's only through what we've read about them in the history books and what we've read about them in the stories that we know about them. One man with a dream at pleasure shall go forth and conquer a crown, and three with a new song's measure can trample an empire down. So, the artists motivate people. A man with a dream and resolution can go about and achieve great things through his determination. One man with a dream at pleasure shall go forth and conquer a crown. Artists can stir the minds of the people. Art is powerful and it can destroy an empire too. So, what happens is that one man with a dream at pleasure shall go forth and conquer a crown. So, the artists have the power to motivate people. They can perhaps motivate people to make a change. In fact, the artists sometimes become the instruments of change, and sometimes it is the artists are themselves the person who bring a change. Okay, so one man with a dream and pleasure shall go forth and conquer a crown. They can conquer a kingdom. Art has so much power that through art, man can get inspired and conquer crowns. And three with a new song's measure can trample an empire down. So this is a poem that can be interpreted in a lot of ways. You might find different interpretations on different websites, or maybe your teacher has told you something else, but there are different ways to look at things, because you can never be sure what the poet meant. He's dead long ago, and it's what we have to interpret that matters. And three with a new song's measure can trample an empire down. And now other three people, if they want, through the power of art, they can also, through the power of art, through these songs that the artists have written, these songs can stir so much of power in the people that they can also trample an empire down. That if something is wrong in the empire, even the empire can be brought down. Art has so much power. A lot of writings have stirred so much of so much of confidence in the people. Now let's talk about the last stanza. We in the ages lying in the buried past of the earth built Nevene with our sighing, and Babel itself with our mirth, and overthrew them with prophesying to the old of the new world's worth. For each age is a dream that is dying, or one that is coming to birth. Now in this stanza, the poet talks about the immortality of art, as well as that the fact that artists have always existed, and it is only because of the artists that we are going to see a new world tomorrow, and it is only because of the artists that the yesterday's world was what it was. The poet says that artists have been there all the time, suggesting art is immortal. Okay, so the artists have lived ever since the earth has existed, because there have always been creations. Somebody built the pyramids of Egypt, and somebody built all those ancient monuments. Somebody built Babylonia. Babylonia does not exist now, but it was definitely a creation of some artist. So artists have existed right at the time of the conception of the earth, because through artists are the persons who are the creators. They are the ones who have created new things. So artists have always existed, and their creations are always going to be remembered most of the times. Babylonia does not exist now. There are a lot of cities, ancient cities, Mohenjo-daro. They do not exist now, but we know about them. So art has the power of immortalizing. We in the ages lying in the buried past of the earth, so in the deep past, built Nineveh with our sighing. Now this Nineveh was an ancient city. Okay, so this was an ancient city. The artists built the ancient city of Nineveh, which was destroyed with great efforts. The slaves who built the city were tortured. So of course, when they were tortured, the slaves were not happy building the city, and the city was later destroyed. But it was through the power of the artists that the city was created, and Babel itself with our mirth, and Babel was built happily by the artists. The city of Babel was built with happiness by the architects. So all the ancient cities are a creation of the artists, and overthrew them with prophesying to the old of the new world's worth. Now these two lines indicate that these cities got destroyed and new ones came up, and it was because the artists that lived during those times told the people that there can be a better way. They created something new, something better. So the old things got erased and a new modern world came up. So these lines hold a lot of power. It talks about, see, these cities of Nineveh and Babel. They were a creation of artists, but then new artists came. They showed to the world, they prophesied to the old world how important, how better a new world can be. And then they built bigger cities, greater cities, so the old ones got buried. The artists hence are very powerful people. For each age is a dream that is dying or one that is coming to birth. Now I particularly like these two lines. For each age is a dream that is dying. All the time that has passed, okay, I mean all the time in the past, all the ages that have passed, the dark ages and all the ages, all the other times in the past that are now no longer there, were a dream of some artist, and now they are dying. But once it was a dream of an artist or one that is coming to birth, and now whatever is going to come in the future is also going to be a dream of some other artists. For example, we create new machines, we create a new city. For example, think like 100 years later your city is going to look very different, and it's all going to be because of the power of these artists. Okay, for each age is a dream that is dying, and every part, every literature that was written in this age, in that age, was a dream of some artist. And every form of literature that will exist in the future will be a dream of some other artists. So it talks about how important the music makers, the artists, are. It's the artists who helped to create the modern world by showing to the older world the greatness of the former. Each age that goes away was a dream of the artists, the creators, and each age to come is a dream that will take birth. And now each new age that will come is again going to be a dream of some other artists. Everything that you will see, every new creation, whether it's a new poem you read in the next 20 years, or a new book you read, or a new development you see, that's going to be a creation of some or the other artists, some or the other music makers. So we are the music makers, and we are the movers and shakers of the world forever it seems. So this was the poem. I hope you understood it. If you have got questions related to this poem, please do post in the comment section below. I'll answer all of them. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and have a nice day, and please subscribe to the channel.